This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I welcome you to a session under the theme, Leadership for Everyone, Everywhere. This is your friend, Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei on ZFM 101.9. And if you miss this episode, please join me on my YouTube channel, Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei YouTube channel. The topic or subtopic under the overall one of leadership for everyone, everywhere, is political leadership. And the second episode is a continuation of the functions of political leaders. I started the previous one on that, and that the first function is providing a credible vision, a national vision which people can look to as to where the nation is going and the expected destination, a clear picture of the future. I shared example when I was the chairman of the Ghana National Development Program, Ghana National Development, NDPC, Ghana National Development Program just for a short time, 2.5 years. But we prepared based upon the work of my predecessor on what we called Ghana at 100. What we tried, the NDPC, National Development Planning Commission, sought to do was to create something which Ghanaians can be looking forward to, that at the time Ghana will celebrate its 100 years, we will be a fully developed, industrialized country. Sad to say, our politicians are more interested in short-term things. We didn't even have an audience to formally present it to the government before I felt I should resign, not to continue to waste my time. Such a vision, of course, should not be just a slogan. It must be in a perspective plan with clear objectives, articulated strategies, and how to implement it. And of course, there must be a machinery, which is the government machinery, to oversee it, and a commitment by the leadership, especially the president, to that. This is what is lacking in most African countries, Ghana not being an exception. Yes, there will be a 4-year extended to 5 years. In fact, I proposed 7 years when I was head of GIMPA, Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, as a one-term 7-year presidency. But whatever it is, that is not enough to take a country from a third world or highly indebted middle-income country to a first world. It is so important in countries with effective political leadership. You hear things like Vision 2020, Vision 2025, Vision 2050. And if you ask even a primary school child, he will tell you, we know where we are going and we know we will. Not heaven knows. That is the first function of a credible political leadership, because that brings hope to the people. It allows what the Bible says, without vision, the people scatter, which we all love the version which says that without vision, the people perish. But the actual one is, without vision, the people scatter. In other words, their energies are scattered, each seeking his own way. At the end, the nation suffers. The second function, and here I'm talking about the top echelon of the political ladder, is bringing together what Professor J.P. Kuta, though talking in the industrial realm, calls it a guiding coalition. Here we are talking of a cabinet who are not appointed on the basis of how much they contributed to the campaigns, but because of their capacity. I always say that in modern politics, people will contribute and they must be recognized when the administration comes to power. But the good news is that there are so many positions you can use in rewarding such in appointments. If you have a cabinet of 20, you should have been 19. Let me tell you, about 12 of them you can literally dash to your supporters. But there are certain critical functions you cannot and should not put a coalition which is not competent and capable. If you take, say, my country, Ghana, you are talking about the Minister for Finance. He makes or breaks the country. The Minister of Agriculture, the Minister for Industry, the Minister of Education, the Minister for Health, probably the Minister for Trade, and probably mining and natural resources, including forestry. You don't need to have 10 ministers and you may have transport. About 8 or so. These, when they are capable, we could say the president can actually go to sleep and things will be done. Of course, he can't sleep. He should make sure that he holds them responsible. But I'm talking like a typical Ghanaian, which we say, you can go to, that means you can have a room of comfort. When it comes to ambassadors, you cannot afford to send any nunquam to China, your main trading partner, United States, Britain, maybe in Africa, about 2 other countries, which I wouldn't like to mention their names because they will say that you are discriminating, but you have to discriminate. At most 10 or so strategic ones. The rest, you can use it as political handouts. Hey, there are people who sit down there, and I don't think that in that country they actually earn their living in terms of what they bring to the country, because you don't have embassies for the fun of having embassies. The point I'm making is this: there are a critical mass, the guiding coalition, and if you are a president, that is your responsibility. And making sure that they are efficient, they are capable, they deliver. You don't come and tell me, as for these, my ministers, what do you mean? The Ghanaian constitution gives the president the power to appoint and do what? Disappoint. You cannot. It is so important. The same way as a business. You have about 3 or 4 people, if you are the CEO, whom you cannot afford. Whether it's, I've seen many Ghanaians collapse their businesses because they have a son or a daughter who is not capable. And they put them there. And then they ruin the business. But when I see now a new generation of successes, I see Kwabena Dufo having the daughter managing one of the most efficient institutions, Star Assurance. You go to Kwabena, what's the Kasapreko? I've forgotten Kwabena, you are saying name, even just escaped me. Who is his son? What they are doing? So it's not a question of it should be an outsider. It's a question of capability. And at the national level, when you have in Ghana 35 million to select from, you can't say, when we were in the campaign, where was he? In 3, they said, yeah, Tom, 2 million. Now, Tom, I make a 2 million. But to me, decide 2 million, mommy. In the same way, when you are in the political power, there are certain coalition, capable people you bring together, irrespective of where they come from, because on it depends your success. That brings me to the third important function of political leadership, is building institutions. The famous statement of Obama when he came to Ghana about, where should Ghana be going or something to that effect, he said institutions, institutions, institutions. When I see our political leaders left and right tampering with our judiciary, electoral commission, GTech, overseeing all universities, or what they call it, the junior version of it, Ghana Education Service, and the rest, I shudder. And the reason is this: if our institutions are not stable and functional and supportive of national development, the devil have the hindsight. But they have even the audacity to tamper with security agencies, like the police, like the army, like OICO and the rest. You cannot. It's a short-term vision that makes people do that, because whatever you do, you will not be in power forever. It is in your interest as a politician in power, and in your interest as a prospective opposition or already in opposition, to have institutions that work, that are just, and that will defend the defenseless. You cannot. One of the things I found when I visited places like South Korea and Thailand, Singapore, China, is that they have what, for one lack of words, I call the national think tank, a bureau. In addition to the political appointees, they have an institution like our National Development Planning Commission, which is not just a peripheral institution, but that is the core. They think about the country's future. When things go wrong, it is them who think about how to put it back on course, because nobody can be assured that there will not be a COVID, there cannot be an economic downturn. No. Economics is not engineering, building bridges, setting tension and other things. No. It requires continuous monitoring. And when you go their national think tanks, they call it National Economic Bureau, Economic Management Team, or whatever they call it. It's not full of economists, though. There are core economists who will bring all together. But there are full of engineers, doctors, other things, all those that represent the management of the economy, and they constitute full-time, or they stay there full-time, national development. When I went to Korea, in addition to their National Economic Bureau, there was the Korean Development Institute, like, say, our ISA at Legon, but not just correcting some statistics and annually publishing and then through some statement. No. The country is committed to it. When the government has a problem, they send it to them. What should we do about this? And they will come out with sometimes totally unconventional, but things that will work for them. Please, the third important function is building institutions. First, national vision. Second, a guiding coalition. The third is building institutions. With that, the government, even in the communist country, is not the one going to make sure this school is working, this factory is working. No. It's the fourth is creating an enabling environment so that everybody can deliver their best. The farmer can deliver their best. The business person can deliver their best. The educationist can deliver their best. The civil servant can deliver his best. What do I mean by enabling environment? We are talking about socio-economic policies that enables the country to be able to realize its potential. The laws that facilitate the economic indicators, inflation, interest rates, should be in line. This is what really matters in political leadership. This is something which, when you do, everybody, of course, government institutions, but you want something in which the farmer in Dokrochua, which is actually a town near Adesu, so I'm not creating them because a friend of mine came from there and I visited and I like the name. I don't know, Dokrochua. Whilst the person is in Dokrochua, who is a farmer, he is responding to economic incentive. He is responding to cocoa price. He is responding to, if you make the road easy, to plant the corn and make sure that it gets to Adesu on time and the rest. This is the responsibility of national leadership. Then the country flourishes, irrespective of the president being there. Enabling environment. That brings me to my next one as to economic infrastructure. It's so important. Nobody can build a road by himself unless he is Bill Gates. But collectively, my little tax, your little tax, here and there, we can build a road. Mahama is thinking about, I think, is that a 6 lane on each side or at least 3 on 3? I don't know this. I hear of 6, but whether the 6 is on one side or is 3. From Accra to Kumasi, with the view of reducing the travel time to 2.5. When that is done, and I hope they will have the economic sense of the middle, putting a railway line in it. Because other than that, we will be repairing the roads and repairing them again. Just the 3 lanes, you create, and then there's a fast-moving central railway line, which is not the one someone stops and then the other passes, like brutally to today. And imagine His Excellency's regime, he's able to do this road, and by the way, what they are doing, they should be thinking about it because they are bulldozing, creating people's cocoa without even having the courtesy of discussing with them, putting soldiers there with guns and others. No, that is what I call democratic dictatorship. So I hope they will have the respect of our citizens to talk to them and engage them. But that is for another day. The most important thing is that if that infrastructure is done with the railway in it, it will catalyze development in Ghana. Nyafu, nyafu, nyafu. The ordinary person, the industrialist, the educationist require the railway, good roads, electricity, which by now we should be generating a lot from natural sources like sun, power, and the rest. We need water system, which unfortunately we are going the rivers. We are destroying the water bodies rather than harnessing them for development. When these, what I call national commons, are developed, infrastructure, then the country goes up. Even if it takes some time, if you have a plan to do it. I'll be continuing my 3rd episode, having done 5 of the things that must be done, and there is functions of political elite to create a comparing national vision, to build a credible, capable, and guided coalition, to build core national institutions, for on them runs the economy, to create an enable environment in terms of policy so that it catalyzes productivity paradigm, and above all, a national infrastructure, economic infrastructure system that supports development. I'll continue on this in my next episode, which I want to conclude what the political elite must be doing and what they do in countries we are proud of as having made it. We too can make it if our political elite do what is required of them. Shalom, and may the Lord be with you as we continue next week on ZFM 101.9 and also on my YouTube, Emeritus Professor Stephen Adei channel. Have a good day.